Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm Isa Tahira, your host, and this is Industry Standard. Today on the program, we have Ella Quittner. She's a food writer for the New York Times and New York Magazine, and she has a new cookbook coming out called Obsessed with the Best. Ella has gone to extreme lengths to make the fluffiest pancakes, the crispiest bacon, and the most tender biscuits, and she's here today to break it down for us. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching. Ella, thank you so much for joining the show. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. It's raining.
It's raining. It's cold and gray in New York City.
But I woke up and I was like, it's raining, which means it's
not snowing.
For the first time in what feels like 16 years.
Thank God.
I know.
Thank
I
you.
would totally take messed up frizzy hair.
I will take rain over snow any day.
Over those gray icebergs they became like 8 feet tall, and there were like towels and pet toys frozen into them.
And dog poop.
Like it seriously became like an artifact museum.
It's pretty gross. It's still kind of gross, but it'll melt away soon.
Most of them in my neighborhood are gone now. And then you see one errant one and you feel like you're fording the ocean.
I'm really excited to talk about your cookbook, Obsessed with the Best. I've read through it. It's amazing. I wanna talk about the recipes, but first I have some intel on you.
Ella. Oh no! I hear
scared that you, as a kid, love to eat dry ramen for breakfast, box mac and cheese with tuna and frozen peas.
Oh God!
Tuna pasta.
Sure.
And taquitos.
Oh my
as
God.
Snacks.
So is your source my little sister Clementine? Because this
I
feels
won't
very
give away my sources.
Little sister biased. All of this is true except the ramen wasn't dry when we ate it.
Okay.
My older sister Zoe and I did go through a phase when we were younger. My dad was like extremely into Japan, as is the habit of a man who's been there for 1 year to study abroad in college. He, like, our entire childhood acted like, you know, Japanese culture was like his number one thing, and he said he spoke Japanese, like all these things. He called South Park a manga from Colorado, and he got my sister and I really into top ramen when we were kids. So every morning, for some reason, we were allowed to each make a whole packet of ramen for breakfast, and we would get into like kind of elaborate head-to-head competition of like who can doctor the top ramen better with like an egg or like a perfectly poached egg.
Okay,
or like
so it wasn't dry ramen.
No, I mean it always started dry.
Yeah, but you didn't eat it dry.
No, but the rest is true. We had a babysitter who would make us tuna with mac and cheese with tuna and peas. Still delicious to this day.
That sounds great.
Taquitos. My older sister and I would eat taquitos every day after school and watch South Park in middle school. Like so hot they would be burning our fingers. And what else did you ask about?
Well, I hear your family has a great stuffed cabbage recipe.
We do. It's so good. My little sister resurfaced it this year because she and her boyfriend attempted to make it. And it's like one of these recipes that has like 100,000 steps and extra ingredients, where now as a recipe developer, I'm like, I think I could simplify this. You know, there's like tomato paste, canned tomato, ketchup, there's ginger snaps. I'm like, could we have like 2 of those things and like fresh ginger? What would happen? But everyone in my family is like, don't touch it. And Clementine and her boyfriend Nick attempted to make it this year. And I got a very urgent FaceTime. And I opened the FaceTime and it was just like a head of cabbage that wouldn't fit in a pot. And they were like really out of breath in the background. They were like, how the instructions say we're supposed to do this, but every time we put the cabbage in the pot of boiling water, it floats back up to the top. And I was like, you guys, breathe, jerry rig it. Do you have kitchen tongs? They were like, yeah, we think so. Is that so I like have all these screenshots of like just like me FaceTiming with the cabbage as they're trying to like submerge it in boiling water, but it worked out.
Okay, and it turned out good?
It turned out amazing, allegedly. They live in LA, so I couldn't taste it.
Okay.
But it got everyone on this kick this year. So then when I was visiting family over the holidays, I made my dad make it. My
Okay.
sister then made it again the following week.
I mean, I need to try this stuffed cabbage.
I'll send you the
It sounds
recipe.
amazing. Please do.
When I was a baby food writer, I think I published it on Food 52
Okay. Oh, okay.
with all the ketchup and ginger snaps.
Ugh, that sounds so good. You know, I also FaceTime my family when I'm cooking.
Well, now you can FaceTime me.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna take you up on that.
I'm never doing anything. I'm always just watching reality TV.
It would be such an honor to FaceTime you while cooking. Although I'd be
I'd love to
slightly
receive it.
embarrassed and horrified because
No, you shouldn't be. I'm such a mess. When I cook for fun, it's like a bomb has gone off in my home.
it's chaotic.
I don't ever cook from a recipe.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
People are surprised by that.
I am surprised by that because I have you down as this sort of like, based on the title of your book, obsessive and a little neurotic maybe, like very, very caring and precise and thoughtful about how you cook and wanting to get it just right.
For work, yes. I'm very precise. I will mise everything. I'll have an assistant. I'll do, the trials in the book require quite a lot of preparation, thought, what I call production books, which will be like a 40-page document with like all the recipes I'm going to try, every little thing tweaked and annotated. When I cook for fun and for pleasure, it's like mayhem.
Wow, okay.
I don't really use recipes. If it's something I don't know how to make, I will read a bunch of recipes. I'll read like 5 to 10 recipes so that I can internalize what I'm trying to do
Yeah.
or what the dish is about. But then I kind of just go for it.
That's so interesting. I'm wondering, we were talking about your family and your childhood a little bit. How do you think the environment you grew up in as a child influenced your love of food and your love of like perfection?
Well, I think those are two different answers. I think the love of food thing is more obvious to me, which is I grew up in this very lovely but also super neurotic Jewish, like kind of vaguely Philip Rothian family. When I was a kid in Long Island, my parents were newspaper journalists. They worked very long hours. We had a lot of, babysitters, and we're always kind of shuttling in and out. And then my parents would get home really stressed and we would have like 1 hour for dinner. And food was the only thing that all 5 of us really loved and that calmed all 5 of us.
Yeah.
And so all of my sort of happy childhood memories revolve around food, whether it's like being a toddler and reaching into this chocolate sour cream cake we used to get from a bakery in Huntington. Or on the weekends when they had more time, my parents would embark on these massive culinary projects, whether it was like an all-day 9-hour sauce with 3 different cuts of meat and tomatoes they had to source from a specialty store across the county. Or I remember one time when I was a kid, they decided they wanted to learn how to make dim sum because they always loved dim sum. It was a big part of their courtship before they had us was dim sum and their shared love of it. And so they went to all these stores and did all this research and figured out how they were going to do it. And this was like 1994 or 5. So it was like, how do we get lychees in Huntington, Long Island? Like they had to source all this stuff and learn all the things. And then I remember they spent several days with friends making all the dumplings and everything and steaming it. And we had like a dim sum feast at home. So a lot of my love for cooking comes from the fact that it was sort of the release valve for our family.
Yeah.
And it was a sort of point of shared pleasure where everything could be so chaotic and we could all be like stressed and freaking out about various things, which is, I was 4. I was like stressed because I saw on a magazine cover that Leonardo DiCaprio smoked cigarettes, but like they were stressed about work. It was just like the family vibe.
Yeah.
And then, we would come together in the kitchen and I remember tasting a sauce my dad had been cooking all day. And it's just like, it was like the equivalent of taking a Xanax, but I didn't know what that was yet.
Yeah, I love that. So it sounds like food was sort of the means to come together, maybe relax a little bit, take a pause and just sort of enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, and it was like that we weren't worrying when we were eating.
Yeah.
It was very indulgent. It was like a feast. And even like birthdays revolved around food. I remember somehow for my birthday every year, I negotiated that I received multiple boxes of chocolate covered cherries. It was like my favorite candy or cordial, whatever, as a child. It's like, that's crazy. I had that.
Yeah.
Other kids liked games and stuff and had friends, but I liked chocolate covered cherries. So I would get these ones, like a special brand I like from some chocolate shop in town, and I would keep them in the fridge for like weeks or months and eat like one a day and not share with my siblings.
That's
so like
amazing.
All of my high value items as a child were food.
You sound like a middle child.
Yeah, I am a middle child.
I see you in me.
Did you also hoard things in your bedroom?
I don't know if I hoarded things, but I did do things where I'm like, I guess I hid things in the kitchen, like my favorite snacks. Like I had
Like behind a thing.
I had dinosaur cookies.
Yeah.
And I used to hide those like underneath the stale snacks, so other people wouldn't see them.
Smart. My siblings were too wily for that. So when we moved to California, my sister and I had like a shared closet, but it was divided in two. We shared a bedroom. And I had like somehow a hoarded stash of like snacks and food in the back of my half of it.
That's
and it would be like Halloween candy, like wrapped stuff. But I remember I would kind of like look both ways to make sure she wasn't coming before I would dive in.
That's so funny. So that's sort of how your family influenced your love of food, but where does the perfection side come in? Where does the like obsessed with the best come in?
Well, philosophically, I'm a very obsessive person on a number of levels. I mean, I'm very obsessive in the way I work. Even when I'm not doing food writing or journalism, I'm very obsessive. Even, I split my time between screenwriting and books and journalism. And so even in like screenwriting, if I'm assigned to write a scene and it's like a type of scene I've not written before, like a show I worked on last year, I was assigned to write a scene in which sort of like war was breaking out in a fantastical realm. I was like, I don't know how to do that. I probably watched like 15 movies, read like 15 scripts, not because I wanted to copy it, but because I wanted to get a very comprehensive understanding of like what people are looking for or what classically would be part of that genre or take place in that scene, so that I'm not coming into it blind and just being like, here's what I think a war should look like on screen for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I'm a very comprehensive person, very sort of like producerial in the way I approach things. I think also I'm just obsessive generally as a person. Like I spend a lot of time in thought spirals, less and less the older I get and the more therapy I'm in. I'm very OCD, like literally as a person, not in the fun kind of like Lena Dunham and Girls way. Well, actually more in the Lena Dunham and Girls way, less in the way where it's like, I keep my room clean.
Yeah.
So it really spans my entire personality. As far as food, I think it came from an urge to do a bunch of work so that someone else wouldn't have to. Like, I love knowing the answer.
Yeah.
And especially with the rise of the internet and when I came into food media, which was like 2018, that's when like we were in SEO boom times. Everyone's writing all this clickbait, like the best way to do this is this, or did you know if you put baking soda on your shrimp before you boil it, like this happens, or, America's Test Kitchen and Serious Eats were really big. Kenji's huge, like, we're getting all this information everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person that like takes a note of that and wants to know if it's true. And I think I wanted to be someone that could kind of put all of those bits of information to work and see what was true or how they stacked up against each other, because I thought there might be other people out there like me who wanted those answers too, but didn't want to stand in a kitchen and make vodka sauce 42 different ways to get those answers.
That makes sense. So I see a lot of parallels between you and my partner, actually, who also has, she has like some OCD tendencies as well.
Yeah.
She loves, finding the best everything. She won't go shopping without doing a ton of research.
Of course.
Of the perfect top or the perfect,
right.
The perfect pair of socks. Like she has to do as much research as she can. And I'm kind of the opposite, to be honest, where I'm a little bit messy. I think in the kitchen especially, I don't cook with recipes.
Yeah.
And I kind of change up the way I do eggs or pancakes like every time I do it.
Right. You're just like, what am I feeling like? The goal changes.
The goal changes, but who is I guess, and I loved your book, but I
Thank
want to know
you.
who is the prime audience for your book?
I think it's a few people. One is that person I was describing where it's like someone who just wants to know, who loves to cook, loves to bake. They see all these headlines. They've like saved a million things on Instagram and TikTok, but they don't really have the time to do 3 days straight of testing to figure out how to make banana bread just like so optimally delicious. Those people. I also wanted to make a book that was for people who don't care that much about that and aren't perfectionists. But I also wanted to make a book for people who don't care about being a perfectionist in the kitchen. Maybe they don't even like cooking or baking that much. They maybe like food for pleasure, but they're not like, I need to know the answer to everything. But they like reading about it and immersing themselves in the world of food. So that's why I wanted to do so much reporting and intersperse all these reported essays about people like the guy I called Bacon Jesus, who are obsessed with evangelizing a specific thing or getting an award.
Can you tell me about Bacon Jesus?
Sure, I would love to. Bacon Jesus. That's what I affectionately call a man named Brooks, who I met because I flew out to Des Moines for a festival he puts on every year called the Blue Ribbon Bacon and Beer Festival.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I was just curious about what that would entail, like a celebration of Iowa bacon. Meanwhile, also when I went to it, there was this watershed Supreme Court decision that had just been made that had to do with pork farming standards. So I was really curious how that affected the folks who were part of this festival, which is a lot of pig farmers and people producing bacon, who were largely kind of the intended recipients of the legislation, because it had to do with kind of space of farming and things like that. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll go there and write a story for a magazine or something, or I don't know, I'm just going to check it out. And I became so enthralled with Brooks, who was like this tall, bubbly, friendly, warm, blonde man with these curly blonde locks down to his shoulders, who like I'd been like, hey, I'm coming to your festival maybe a day before on the airplane. So if you're around, I'd love to chat with you. It was all very last minute. And I was walking through the festival and the crowd parts and a man drives up on like a gator, like a big utility vehicle. And he's like, are you Ella? Hop in. And it's him. And he's like the MC. He's like the Santa Claus of this festival. You know, like everyone knows him. There's like all these fist bumps. Everyone's his friend. We like drive past another sport utility vehicle and they're like these two nearly identical men with beards down to their like belly buttons. And he's like, that's Hopper and Pumpkin. You know, they're the they're the beer meisters of this. Like he's just so congenial and fun. And I came to learn that he puts this festival on. It's sort of like a non-profit. I mean, they may or may not make a profit, but it's like for the love of bacon. It's not for profit, right? It's like something he does because he loves bacon. And he loves to celebrate it. And he loves when people have fun and to build community. And he comes from this long line of folks in the nonprofit space and also state fair concessionaires. So it's sort of the perfect marriage of that because this takes place on the Iowa State Fairgrounds.
Wow, okay.
And I learned while I was there that he actually throws an annual festival in a more rural part of Japan every year. A city that itself isn't that rural called Kofu, which is a few hours by train west of Tokyo. But he throws, so there's an annual festival in Kofu dedicated to this Edo period samurai, Takeda Shingen.
Okay.
Within that festival, which like thousands and thousands of local people come to, and they dress in Edo period garb, and they like recreate kind of Edo period samurai warfare. Like that's kind of the point of the festival. Is like if we were in the street, we would like have our weapons, and you know we would have a reenactment. So it's sort of a historical festival. And within this, for whatever reason, Brooks and his bacon crew throw an annual festival called Porktoberfest.
Oh, amazing.
Celebrating Iowa bacon on like a sub-festival fairground. It's like one little square courtyard fairground within this giant sprawling festival, and it's all about bacon.
Amazing.
So I was like, I have to go. So I followed him to Japan.
Wow.
And just got to know him.
Okay. You have some great stories from your trip to Japan, and I feel
yeah.
Your book has, first of all, the writing in your book is incredible. You have amazing stories.
Thank you.
There's one where you and your dad go to Japan and your dad falls in a ditch.
Yeah, my dad almost died in the making of this book, which was very scary at the time, but now we laugh about.
That's crazy. What were you guys doing in Japan, and what did you learn food-wise from that trip?
So that was the same trip, and that actually happened in this very rural suburb. So what happened is I decided I want to go to Porktoberfest very late. So everything's booked up in Kofu. And so the closest thing I could find was an Airbnb in a town maybe 20 minutes by train from Kofu called Rio. And it was a perfectly lovely, beautiful suburb that you never would have heard of as an American tourist or visited unless you were a big video game fan because its
I
backdrop
did used
was
to play Smash Bros.
Yeah, okay. So you maybe would recognize the town. You'd get off the train and be like, this backdrop looks really familiar.
Yep.
Otherwise, totally lovely, innocuous, whatever, beautiful suburb. No one that listens to your podcast will probably ever visit. And it was quite rural. So one night after the festival, I think we were both sick, or my dad had gotten sick and then he'd gotten me sick. So I was coming down with something and we didn't have a rental car and we were so tired, but we needed dinner. So we tried to Google map like where we could eat, but it, again, very quiet suburb, not like a bustling city or anything. So there's like one spot that we could reach by foot and it was all unlit roads, very quaint and no street lamps. And part of what the region is known for, part of the history of the region, is that it would flood heavily. And this samurai, Takeda Shingen, was known for creating like a flood levee system throughout the region. So that's relevant only because in the town we were staying in, I'm guessing that's why there were these sort of coffin width, like open river drains that were, like 4 to 6 feet deep maybe on either side of the road. And they had these like gently rushing kind of rivers running through them, or rivulets of water that I imagine got taller, as the rain picked up or whatever, which was really relaxing during the day. You'd be walking, trying to find coffee somewhere, or go to a 7-Eleven, and, there's always the sound of water kind of running. But so we find the one place that we can walk to, and we go there, and it is, Google Translate says that the translation of the restaurant name is Sicilian Trattoria, which I was like, ugh. I had just spent 3 weeks in Italy, or I don't know how many weeks, some weeks in Italy, traveling all throughout Rome and Tuscany and Emilia-Romagna, learning about meatballs and then how to make fresh pasta. Mm-hmm. So I was really pasta'd out, really trattoria'd out. And also, specifically, I'd said to my dad, I've had so much pasta lately, I don't want to do the thing in Tokyo that everyone says to do, which is go to Serenkan and get the most amazing Italian food. Like, let's just eat Japanese food. We both love it. I don't need more pasta. So I'm like rolling my eyes. But it's the only place we can reach besides basically a very tiny market that they have like packaged chips. We go there, and of course, like egg on my face, it's the best Italian food I've had in my entire life, even though this little restaurant, virtually vibeless. It's like got the same sort of amount of ambiance as, like a roadside, like where you would like get a sandwich if you're filling up your car on a roadside trip.
Got it.
Like the lighting's whatever. It's completely empty except for us and another couple. The menu had like 100 items, many of which were not Sicilian.
Got it.
But it's like, I had to hold up my phone to Google Translate the menu, and it was like every kind of pasta you could imagine.
Yeah.
And I was surprised how delicious the pasta was because we'd had a pretty mediocre appetizer. I think it was like a pizza and a salad or something. I was like, let's just get through this meal and go to bed. The pasta comes out. It is like the best pasta I've had in my entire life.
Wow.
All I really remember about it was the noodles were green. I think it was tagliatelle. And I think it was like a boar ragu or something. It was like this perfectly silky, rich meat sauce, but not at all overbearing, not cloying, not like too heavy.
Wow.
Just a dream. Like something I couldn't even do in my own kitchen because I'm such a maximalist. I would like add more meat, I would add more sauce, but it was the perfect amount clinging to each noodle. And as I write in the book, I'm kind of a fresh pasta hater.
Yeah.
Which is why I'd gone on this mission to Italy to figure out if I could figure out chewy, fresh pasta, like to make it to my taste.
Yes.
This was perfectly al dente.
Okay, let me get this straight. The best pasta you had in your life was in Japan?
Yeah, I mean, that is my memory of this sort of roadside Sicilian-ish trattorias being like, this is the best pasta I've ever had.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
And it's at the tail end of spending time, in these kitchens of these Falline and Nona and people who are willing, and Michelin star kitchens and Modena and Bologna, regions where pasta is sort of the religion.
Yeah.
So imagine my surprise.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it was so good. And as I write in the book, my dad, a big part of his personality, besides being obsessed with Japan, is being extremely effusive. Like my entire life, this man is so effusive. He will like go on a jog, come home, have a sip of water and go, oh, tastes like a milkshake. He's like, everything to him is like Technicolor, the best or it's like
Yes.
the worst, you know. He would like, I'd be like in second grade and I'd be like, Dad, can you read my essay? I'm going to turn into school or whatever. And he'd be like, I have so many memories of him sitting at the dining table and being like, yeah, I don't understand what you're trying to say here at all. We're going to completely need to rework this.
To a second grader?
10.
And you're like, okay, thanks, Dad.
As a result, I have a very thick skin with editors now. I'm like, whatever, yeah, I'll redo it.
I mean, I remember there's a line in your book where he gives you like feedback and on your writing and you push back and he's like, great, well, have a nice life.
No, totally. That's his exact vibe. I'll be like, hey, can you give this read? He'll read it. He'll be like, I don't really like the kicker. I think this is. I'll be like, yeah, but I kind of like it for this reason. So what if I do this instead? He's like, all right, I have to go.
That's
that
so
kind of,
funny.
he's like very effusive.
Yeah.
He's like a fabulous storyteller. He's like one of my favorite writers on earth.
He sounds a little eccentric.
He's so fun. He's like the most fun person you could hang out with.
I love that.
So of course he's so effusive. He like talks like an orchestra conductor. So we're leaving this restaurant and he's like, oh my God, this is the best meal I've ever had. Japan is so amazing. It's so special. We're in the middle of nowhere and we just had this like world-class pasta. And he's like gesticulating and his like iPhone is out with it's like thick leather wraparound case and it's like, completely dark street. So as he's gesticulating about the pasta and making motions and things, his like phone is casting this blue light glow on this completely dark street. And all of a sudden he gushes so hard and so fast he like loses sight of where we are.
Oh God.
And loses his footing and he tumbles like an acrobat into one of these drainage ditch rivers by the side of the road.
Oh my God.
Like neither of us had seen it. We were so wrapped up in the fantasy and the luxury of having this amazing like $10 pasta that blew our socks off. And for a second, I really did think he died because he like tumbles head first into this thing. And I look down and it's like a black street, a dark street. There's no streetlights. And his phone that he'd had out as he's like doing this has flown out of his hand. And the like thick leather case is like fallen open like a book. And so the iPhone is like casting this beam on his like head. It's face down in the water. And I was like, oh my God, he hit his neck on the way down because his face is under the running water. And he's just laying there.
Oh my God. That's terrifying.
Oh my God. My mom is going to be so mad at me.
Yeah.
Like, also, this is really awful, sad, traumatic, and I will be processing those feelings. So horrible, but like, how am I going to tell my mom? And then, like, maybe a second later, but this felt like 10 hours. He like lifts his head from the water and just starts screaming bloody murder. Like,
oh my God.
There's only a few times in my life where I've seen someone in just like immense pain after an accident, but it's like that primal thing,
Yeah. I'm so sorry that happened. I'm glad your dad is okay now.
He's perfect now.
I'm
totally
glad.
fine now.
I mean, I'm glad he's okay. I'm glad
Me
you
too.
guys had the best pasta of your life.
I know.
Was it worth it for that? I don't know.
Well, I write about in the book, it gave me sort of a revelation. So I fish him out, whatever. We like hobble back to our Airbnb. He's like gushing blood. We like call an ambulance. It turns out he does not speak Japanese. This is just sort of another of his like orchestral exaggerations he's been making since 1975. But we spend the night in the hotel in rural Japan and he's totally fine. He has to go back to America and have various things done, but it's just some broken bones. But as I write in the essay, while we were there having dinner and having this conversation that caused him to tumble into the drainage ditch river, we were talking about, I was like, oh my God, I have to go back the next day. This be the perfect essay or the perfect thing for this fresh pasta chapter in my book that I went to Italy and I did all this stuff and I learned all these things. But I really learned the secrets to actually chewy fresh pasta from this random rural restaurant that had 2 people in it and 100 things on the menu. And no sense of sort of like regional POV or anything.
Yeah.
And it gave me this revelation as we were sitting there in the hospital and I'm thinking about how much I love my dad and how happy I am that he didn't die in this like drainage river. And what kind of person he is and how his exuberance has like informed so much of what I love about being alive. And how him seeing the world in Technicolor has kind of given me a love for little moments. And I realized like I don't want to go back. It's possible that pasta was whatever.
Yeah.
But that the way we recount things and the way we experience them and who we're with, and this like need my dad has that I think he's passed on to me to be like ranking things and evaluating them and talking about how good or how bad they are, or what's good about them, or really having these sort of dramatic takes on everyday experiences sort of is what imbues them with meaning.
Yes.
More than if like that chef from that restaurant made that tagliatelle for me again the next day and I had it next to the perfect tortelli I learned how to make in Modena or whatever. Like, I don't know how that would go, technically speaking, but that's not really what it's about for me. The best for me, I realized, is about this experiential best, and that this ranking and this sort of like descriptive way of looking at your own life and valuing your own experiences is really what gives it meaning. So I never went back and I never asked.
Let's unpack that a little bit, because I find
Who are you, my therapist?
I am, a little bit of a career therapist.
Yeah, for sure. Blue couch therapist.
Exactly. I find that interesting because you obviously your book, you mentioned it in your book a few times, there's no such thing as the best.
Right.
And I feel like so much of our memories associated to food are the environment we have them in, the people we have food with, our early childhood memories of food. How does that perception of food with company sort of play into your book and your perception of, obsessed with the best? Because obviously you test recipes and it's very precise, but there's also something psychological to it.
Yeah. I think I try to capture that idea in the sort of mission statement I set out at the beginning of each food chapter. Like if it's cabbage, I say, here's what I'm looking for. If it, yellow cake, it's like I'm looking for a plush, quivering, richly flavored crumb that doesn't get dry, but is still sturdy enough to stack, or whatever. I'll say what I'm looking for. And I think I'm trying to capture what you're talking about, which is sort of the environmental essence of like why we would cook or bake. Because there are 100,000 things you could do with any dish, any ingredient. And the book isn't meant to be prescriptive at all. It's meant to be like, I tested 100 ways to do this to try to get to this specific goal that I myself had. So if you want to get to that goal, you could follow this mother recipe, or you could just read my findings if you have a different goal, because I write up everything that I'm, finding in my tests.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be sort of like declarative, right? I don't want to be, it's a cheeky title, Obsessed with the Best, and it's a cheeky mission to find the best blah, blah, blah way to do everything. Obviously that's impossible. And we were talking a little before we started recording, I think, but the reason why you might make pancakes on any given day differs, right? Yeah. Some days you might want to spend an hour making the most incredible pancakes you've ever had the pleasure of tasting and serve them in these opulent stacks covered in butter and syrup. Like maybe you have guests over, maybe you just really want to treat yourself. Some days you might be like super hungover, exhausted, and your kids are screaming, crying, and you just want like 10-second pancakes, feed them, get them out of your hair. And so like those are very different contexts, even without taking into account your emotional relationship to the food or to your company.
Yes.
But I think all of those things are really valid. Like I feel like this book, I could do it 100,000 different ways, because it could be like obsessed with the best, busy moms, obsessed with the best, herb prep. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like there are so many granular ways you could look at a mission for each ingredient, each dish, and there are so many dishes out there.
Yes.
And so many techniques. It's sort of a never-ending mission.
I love that you have the mother recipe, which is sort of like, this is the one I would do that I've tested, but you also have variations on things. And I'll just tell you, I'm sort of the pancake queen in my household.
Okay,
and
good to know.
I make pancakes almost every Saturday for my fiance at home. And for me, it's just a love language. And I will really, it's kind of the one thing.
Yeah. Maybe
like, I'm Spanish, so tortilla de patatas for me is like also something I really try to get precise. But pancakes is something I will spend an hour if I have to making really good pancakes. Again, it'll be different every time.
Yeah.
According to my mood, but I really try to make it good and something, carefully made, and I try to get it just right, just fluffy enough. And
wait, I have to know your method.
Okay, it's a little bit weird, but
tell me.
I had yogurt, always yogurt. Okay,
yeah, not weird.
And as
Greek yogurt or
Greek yogurt, yeah. Full fat Greek yogurt, and I add baking soda and baking powder.
Okay.
Don't ask me why.
No funny egg stuff. No funny business with the egg whites.
No, but I noticed that in your recipe,
Yeah.
you separate.
There is funny business.
What can you tell? You're a maximalist. Tell me what is your mother recipe for pancakes?
For pancakes, so like you, I like an acidic dairy product, so I have buttermilk in them.
Okay.
I also have ricotta because I found that to make maximally fluffy pancakes, the batter really likes to have little lumps to climb. You know, this is why they tell you don't overmix your pancake batter, because if it's a little bit clinging together inside, it can get taller. I have melted butter in there. I have a little bit of whole wheat flour, which you could skip if you don't have it, but I like that it gives you a little nuttiness. And then I have, as you say, I look to yellow cake to think about, you know, how we're doing sponge cake and how we can apply that to pancake, which is really just cake that we're trying to make freeform in a skillet. So I have you separate the eggs. This is also what you would do for like a Belgian waffle, to have like a crispy exterior and a really soft, fluffy inside.
Okay.
So then you beat the egg whites with a whisk, and you beat in a little bit of sugar to stiffen them, like a sort of mini demi meringue. And then you fold that into the batter just before you make the pancakes. And aerating the egg whites, basically when they hit the heat, causes them to puff up like a souffle or like a sponge cake. So it gives you extra height and fluffiness.
And is that the perfect pancake?
For me, it's the perfect pancake, to the point where I make them every few months and I like keep them frozen in my freezer. So if I have like a pancake emergency,
as one does,
right, which is just like, I need a pancake, then I can like microwave a pancake like a child and just eat it like with my hands.
I should do that. I never think to freeze things. Like, I guess like I didn't grow up freezing things.
Same. I grew up, my mom is like very anti-clutter. Like our house was always like so spotless. There's not like a single thing you don't need. Like if you left your like school book or laptop on the dining table 30 minutes later, she'd be like, "Whose is this? What is this? I'm throwing it out." And you'd be like, "That's my school stuff." So
she sounds like my partner.
Yeah, she's like she's like, "Don't be a hoarder." And I'm like I have a chest freezer. I've discovered in the process of recipe development, also, I often end up with too much of something, and there's only so much my doormen or my neighbors or my friends really want.
Yeah.
So I've discovered what things freeze well and what don't.
I have a question for you. You have things that I think people feel very strongly about, like bacon,
yes,
eggs, pancakes. I mean, classic American staples.
Sure.
What do you think? You have some surprising ingredients in some of your recipes. What is your most controversial take on like a classic American? Like what is something maybe surprising?
Sure. Probably vodka in my buttermilk biscuits.
Okay, tell me more.
Which is like possibly an abomination. But I started looking at the biscuit, maybe 40 batches of biscuit tests in, and was like, wait, biscuits are just pie dough with a better personality. It's like literally the same ingredients, the same technique, the same desired outcome, which is a very tender, flaky sort of, there's like an external crust, and you want it to be deeply flavored, and you want it to be able to stand up to either a rich, savory thing or a rich, sweet jam and butter. And it's this very melt in your mouth texture you're going for. So that made me think of this trick people have been using with pie dough for a very long time, which is adding some vodka to the crust as part of the liquid, which does a few things. It inhibits gluten formation in the initial sort of raw dough because without getting too pedantic and boring it, water is what allows the sort of like strands that create a network of gluten to become like a fishnet instead of just like random disparate little lines everywhere. And because vodka is more alcohol than water, you're adding a liquid that like allows the dough to come together without kind of creating like a very gluten-friendly environment.
Okay.
And then it also, alcohol obviously cooks off in the oven at, a lower temperature.
Yeah.
And so when you're creating something like pie dough or biscuits, my biscuits are intended to have like very distinct layers and be very flaky, like you can peel them apart. So for something like that, where you've incorporated all this butter and it's supposed to create almost like a rough puff pastry effect, vodka's great, or any kind of high alcohol content liquid is great, because as it cooks off in the oven, it creates like extra steam. So that's like pushing apart the layers that you've created with the butter and the flour.
So interesting, so unexpected.
It's definitely it's definitely probably the most controversial one.
I love
I
that.
hope people like it because I love my biscuits.
You're a biscuiteer.
I am a biscuiteer. I went to Alabama, but I feel bad too because Scott Peacock, who I became a biscuiteer under, my biscuit mentor, does not use vodka. He makes these wonderful, delicious, very traditional, thoughtful, incredible biscuits. And I was like, thanks for teaching me. I'm going to add vodka.
I mean, going rogue, I love that.
I went rogue, exactly. I came home and went rogue.
I love that. There's a really beautiful passage in your book about egg personalities, which I found so funny. And there are, you describe the perfect sort of poached egg. I'm wondering, if I give you an egg style, will you tell me what you think would be the stereotype personality?
I'll do my best.
Okay. Sunny side up.
Friendly, optimistic, but sort of risk averse, because with a sunny side up egg, you're not flipping it to cook the white. You're not taking that risk of maybe, making sure the white is fully set, but maybe breaking the yolk. So you're like, you're a good enough person. You're like, everything's good enough.
Okay. French style scrambled eggs.
Like a soft scramble with really little curds.
Yes.
Someone who appreciates the finer things, the little things, because those sort of soft scrambled eggs to me are very ricotta-like. They're like a really nice, beautiful, fresh cheese. And you don't want to eat a giant bowl of them. You want like 1 or 2 eggs in that preparation. And you're maybe having them on like a really lovely thick slice of brioche with a, salted French butter. It's sort of like someone that likes like a caviar, an uni, or truffle. It's like you like little perfect fancy bites of things.
Okay. Let's say soft boiled with the yolk like not oozing out, but like a little soft boiled.
Like a 6.5-minute egg.
Exactly.
Practical, but still looking for pleasure. Protein oriented, but you like a little treat.
I think you're describing me.
Is that your egg?
Practical, but still looking for something a little fun. That's my egg.
But you're not like, faffing around in the kitchen for like 6 hours to do it. It's a 7-minute egg.
Exactly. Okay.
And it's sort of a no-fail technique.
Yes. 6.5.
Yeah.
I swear by it.
That's all you need. 6.5 minutes.
Okay. Let's say poached egg with vinegar, with a swirl.
Right. Okay. Definitely optimistic, definitely a risk taker, someone who's looking for like a high reward, high risk technique. Because as I write in the book, poached eggs are sort of like this act of magic to get them perfectly right and to get the shape beautiful without those weird wispy bits and to have a very molten yolk but a perfectly cooked white. This is not a technique for the faint of heart. I try to make it a technique for the faint of heart in the book. I try to give you a foolproof way to do it. But if you didn't have the book or you didn't know how to poach an egg and you didn't have all these little tips and tricks to make it easier and reduce the risk, you can end up with a lot of unpleasant textures. You could end up with like a scrambled boiled egg with weird bits of like yolk floating in the water.
A catastrophe. Yeah.
You could end up with an egg catastrophe.
An egg emergency.
Exactly. Which only can be fixed by a pancake emergency.
Exactly.
And that's why I keep them in the freezer.
That's amazing. I get a little scared about poached eggs.
Yeah.
Poached eggs. I do the vortex with a spoon, but it never comes out well. So I'm grateful for your ideal recipe for beginners.
Big finding was I had Mia Glickman, this wonderful chef who was working at Achilles Heel in Brooklyn most recently, helping me do a lot of the testing for the book. And we were working on poached egg trials, and she mentioned offhandedly one day, at the time she was working at, I think, Little Egg in Brooklyn, so like a brunch spot. And she mentioned offhandedly, oh, I've noticed when we do them in these really tall stock pots at work, because they're producing a lot at once, the shape is much better and they're way more consistent. So we got out all my tall stock pots and started testing it against the shallow ones. And the big finding was that having that volume of water helps so much to perfect the process.
Okay.
You get a perfectly shaped sort of like orb instead of when you do it in a saucier or like a more shallow pan. Sometimes they'll be flat or misshapen. There's just like not enough water to give them the space they want to sort of like re-egg in the water.
Amazing. You know what we're gonna do?
What?
I'm gonna try to make a poached egg your way.
Great.
And I'm gonna call you on FaceTime
to
make
please.
Sure I'm doing it right.
Perfect.
And you can just tell me.
I can't wait.
Okay, I have 2 questions left for you, Ella.
Please.
One of them is you're a New Yorker. You've been here since what, 2009?
Yes. That's right.
And
Wow.
I know you have some good recommendations for me. I know you got me. So let me ask you for some.
Please. Yeah.
Best date spot for, a special occasion.
Is it someone you've been dating for a while or first date? Okay.
Let's say someone you've been dating for a while. Maybe it's your anniversary, maybe it's a birthday, but you want to splurge a little bit.
Controversially, I actually like to stay in for date night and splurge on the ingredients.
Yes. Okay. Wait, that's amazing. Tell me more.
Love restaurants. I will give you recommendations. I eat out way too much and enjoy it profusely. But for a really special date night, I think, especially because my husband actually doesn't like to cook and doesn't feel like a natural in the kitchen. To me, it feels extremely intimate and special when we are in the kitchen together for a concerted period of time.
Yeah.
And we're collaborating on making things delicious, which we both really like food. So I love that. And, you're like drinking wine and talking about the flavor and tasting things. I find that very romantic, much more than going to a restaurant and just kind of talking and having things brought out to me. So I would splurge on ingredients in that case. My favorite butcher in New York for a splurge date night, although actually really high quality for the prices, is Florence Prime Meat Market on Jones Street.
Okay.
I would get a beautiful cut of something from there, maybe short ribs. And by the way, go in person. It's like watching Mozart compose. They have these long knives and you can see them, and it's the most beautiful meat carving and prep you've seen in your entire life. And the stuff comes to you in a white paper package, and I swear it's like the most intricately beautiful raw meat you will see in your entire life, the way it's prepared. And you can ask for anything, like, I want the short ribs 3 inches thick and blah 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 blah, and they're like, yeah, no problem, they've seen it all. Or I would get maybe some chicken cutlets even for like a chicken parm.
Yum.
And then if I was already in that neighborhood, I would head over to Bleecker Street and I would get various cheeses from Murray's, whatever I needed for the recipes. And then also there's this cheese I'm really into right now that they have there that it's inexpensive. It's like a Gouda with crystals. I don't know what it's called. The way I ask for it, I'm like, it's the cheese that astronauts once brought to space because It says that on the label, but I can never find it in the box. So I get like a big hunk of that to just like eat as a snack. I would go to FICO's next door to Murray's or a few doors down for some sliced meats, for apps and olives, for martinis.
Okay.
And then I would go to Jones Street Wine, which is on that same block as Florence Meat Market, and I would get a couple nice bottles of wine and chill them.
Okay.
And at FICO's you could get like noodles, sauce stuff, whatever. If you did want to go to a restaurant, East Odie is my date night spot. It's like my birthday spot.
Oh, okay.
I absolutely love it and think everything on the menu is delicious.
What type of food?
It is Italian food.
Okay.
Principally Tuscan, but the menu sort of diverges.
Amazing.
So a lot of pasta, larger format steaks. I love there's like a roasted rabbit that gets wrapped in like a prosciutto.
Oh, yum. That sounds great. Okay. How about give me your best casual date night spot? Maybe you don't know the person too well. Maybe it's a first or second date.
Casa Adela, which is right near here.
Okay.
Never, ever had anything less than a perfect meal there. And they have this incredible house-made hot sauce. They only have some of the time, and it's on some of the tables, so you have to ask for it. I think it's a Scotch bonnet hot sauce in these sort of like unmarked, taller bottles. It's a perfect date spot for an earlier casual date also, because things come out relatively quickly. So if it's not going well, you're like, this is so funny. Can't wait to do it again. And if it is going well, East Village, Lower East Side, great bars. You could just roll it off to somewhere else.
Yeah, keep the night going.
Exactly.
Okay, best place for when my parents come to visit and I want to go somewhere nice for them.
What do they like?
Well, my mom is hard of hearing, so somewhere not
quiet.
Too loud,
Yeah.
Somewhere quiet. And I guess, good quality food. They're willing to maybe splurge a little bit, but they don't want it to be too packed and too crowded. It's like a little bit calmer.
Do they like cocktails, wine, or both?
I would say wine. Both of them, wine.
I would say Zimmi's
Okay.
in the West Village. Quiet, beautiful, lovely. It's like sort of Southern French food, but elevated in a way that it's very sophisticated and fabulous. But on the menu, it'll say like lentil barley soup, and you're like not expecting much, and it'll come and it'll be the most delicious soup you've ever had. Or it'll say like vegetables with meat, and it'll come and it's these like little stuffed choux farcis that are like so tiny and incredible. I also think Wild Air and Bar Contra are really perfect restaurants and great for parents because neither is that loud.
Yeah.
This is why I was asking about wine versus cocktails, because something I love a lot at Bar Contra is the cocktail program by Dave Arnold. It's like, I do not usually like specialty cocktails. I'm a martini Manhattan girl,
Okay.
like through and through. This is the only place in New York really where I'll go and be like, yeah, that crazy passion fruit one looks amazing. And it always is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if they don't love cocktails and prefer wine, I would go to Bar Contra for just like a quick drink before and a bite. Get I think it's called like Tone Mayo. It's like a confit tuna belly with these fried, maybe like plantain crisps that you dip in the tuna. Like a really fancy version of like sun-kissed tuna salad and saltines. Basically, that's unreal. And then I would go next door to Wild Air because their wine program is really epic.
Yep.
And they have slightly larger format stuff.
Okay. Amazing. Last one, best American diner. If you just want to get some good pancakes, some good, American omelet.
In New York?
In New York.
It's so funny. We're in this diner moment where we have like half really old school, been around forever, cash only.
Yep.
Cottage cheese in the melon
Yeah.
for $6 diners. And then we have these super sort of like, this sounds derogatory, but I don't mean it in a derogatory way because I love them. These like yassified sort of like Brooklyn style diners, you know, where everything's like really beautiful and the interior's redone. I'm like Nicholas Bronson investor. I mean, I'm combining a lot of concepts, but
and maybe like a little pricey.
Yeah, a little pricier for sure. Like less expensive than a fancy restaurant, but pricier than one of these sort of old school ones. I'll give you one of each.
Okay.
Oh, and then of course there's a separate category, which is like the sort of Jewish delicatessen. I'm just going to put that on the side because it's like its own thing.
Okay, hit me.
For very old school, I love Bonbonniere in the West Village.
Mm-hmm.
It is cash only.
Okay.
But it's wonderful. And the menu is like 10 trillion items long. There's also, my husband and I just discovered over the past year and a half, we were doing IVF, and the doctor we would have to go see all the time because you have to go in like every 2 days, I swear, while you're doing this for parts of it. Was on 53rd Street on the east side. So we would often walk all the way back across town to the West Village. And we discovered, even though we had lived near it for years and never gone in, there's a pretty good diner called Murray Hill Diner, which is like kind of on the outskirts of Murray Hill. So if you're more kind of like Midtown or East Side oriented, I like that too. For just kind of an old school 10,000 items. Like maybe someone at the table wants a whole roasted branzino and someone else wants an omelet.
Love that.
For the sort of more modern, trendy diners. Does S&P count as a diner?
Yeah. Okay.
I love S&P. I used to go there all the time when it was Eisenberg, so I was really worried when it got revamped. But the tuna melt is crazy good.
Okay, I'm sold because I love a good tuna melt.
So good. Golden Diner's good too. Montague Diner.
Love Montague.
There's a lot of good ones. And then, I mean, this isn't a diner, but on the sort of like Jewish delicatessen side, B&H Dairy in the East Village is wonderful. And I guess I mentioned because it sort of fills a similar niche as a diner for me.
Yeah.
It's like you go in, it's no frills, it's brightly lit, there's a million things on the menu, it's inexpensive. So I would kind of group that in my head.
Okay, that's amazing. My last question for you, Ella, is you're a food writer, you have a book out. How do you define personal success as a food writer? And I ask this of all my guests. I don't mean necessarily professional success because clearly you have that, but I mean how do you define personal success? Like, what does that mean to you?
If you asked me this 10 years ago, my answer would be so different because I grew up as someone and entered the workforce as someone after college who was so validation obsessed. I mean, I spent almost 6 years on Wall Street just chasing the high of people being like, you're the best at your job. Like keeping my head down, 14-hour day, just really trying to get those sort of like compliments, accolades, back pats. And then after switching industries several times, I've switched from writing to Wall Street, then Wall Street to food media, then food media to Hollywood. Now I split my time and all these things. Like, it's actually not possible to feel successful if you are getting your validation externally. So I guess I define personal success as being proud of what you're producing, whether it's creative or corporate or administrative or anything. I think for me, I feel the best about my work when I am proud of what I've made, whether it's the content of a book or whether I am managing someone in a way that feels like they're learning, I'm learning from them, we're both happy with the relationship, nothing about it feels like toxic or weird. There's so many different ways to interpret it, but I really think it is personal success for me is being proud of what you're putting out there and being able to go to bed and not being like, ugh, I just did that for money, or ugh, I just did that in a way I'm not proud of and I don't want to promote because I had to for XYZ reason. But being like, I was asked to do a thing and I found a way to do it that satisfied the request, but also made me feel proud and happy with the results. Like maybe it's going to help someone or entertain someone or teach someone.
I love that. Ella, thank you for joining the show.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun. It flew by. Although I'm going to go eat that chocolate croissant you brought me.
Yes.